how did we arrive here so that the trust deficit is where it is right now? Because it is deep. How did we end up as Kenyans not trusting what the person of a president says, and we doubt it immediately? He voices it. Who should take responsibility? So my expectation then, even before we take the jet, because it can only be a jet taking us to Singapore, before we board the jet,
this airline.
Yes, my expectation would have been to quickly do an audit of what is Onyango in Kisumu Bondo saying, what is Wanjiro in Nyandarua saying, or in wherever it is they come from, and what is Sheriff here in Nairobi saying in terms of the impact that they are seeing currently. We will see heightened politicking in 2026. Never mind, the calendar doesn't allow this activism in terms of vote hunting until it must be February of 2027.
6 months to the election.
But when the president does it, who are we not to join? Why would you want to sell your vote for 200 shillings for the day, or 500 shillings, even if it was 2,000? Why would you want to sell your vote for a meal or 2 meals for one day, and then you forgo development for 5 years, or you forgo the 500 every day for 5 years? Why would you want to do that?
Always a pleasure to have you on Richard Mwenja Exclusive, and just in time for a final edition for the year of our Lord 2025. And just so to make it so colorful and to make it so big, today we host one more time renowned thought leader in this country. She served Kenya's public service in many capacities. Prime of it as CS for Health under Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure. She is none other than this fine woman leader in Kenya, Cecily Kariuki. Waziri, good to see you.
Very nice. A pleasure to see you too. Yes.
It's been a while.
Indeed. I'm glad to be back on this phenomenal show.
Always a pleasure. We had countless requests of where is Cecily. We want her back on the show. The girls are, of course, looking forward to hearing from you, and certainly they have their wish. But first things first, Cecily. Between the time that you are here on the program and now, so much has happened. Of course, we've lost some phenomenal figures in Kenya's political and governance landscape. But besides that, we are at a point where probably there's another vision for Kenya in sight, and that's the Singapore dream. This is a vision that the president is trying to sell down our throats. But of course, it comes at a cost. He mentions of a figure of 5 trillion Kenya shillings. But you, having been there, centered in Kenya's political governance and policy landscape, is this Singapore dream in sight, going by the political hygiene of Kenya as of today?
Thank you, Rich. And then it's fair for me to keep on reminding your viewers that it is the same Cecily who was in water, sanitation, irrigation as a CS. It is the same Cecily who was in the public service, gender and youth space many years. Is the same Cecily who was a principal secretary, in agriculture. And therefore, to just say, inside 20 years, there's so very much that I have seen. And I'm therefore able to, articulate what is viewed to be policy and actual implementation of interventions. And therefore, back to the subject that we are looking at today, the Singapore, Kenya moving towards Singapore. Good dream, good vision, but perhaps one which is so hell-bent on taking Kenyans to a destination without giving us the means of getting to that destination. Really, I would desire for us as a people, as a country, to be a Singapore, in record time. But how realistic is that given where we are currently? How realistic is that given that even the small little promises that have been given by the KK government have actually not been realized? Do you see yourself from an ECD class and suddenly you want to be in the University of Nairobi? Does it work like that? I'm sure the ECD child carries a dream one day because they've had their parents encourage them to read and work hard and be disciplined and be all these things that parents encourage their ECD and primary school children, girls, children, and to tell them to dream big so that one day they can be like that professor. One day they can be like that cabinet minister. One day they can be like that politician. I'm not very sure that you'll be encouraging them to be a politician given what we have witnessed of our politicians and politics in Kenya. But yes, it is a good dream. But for that child to progress and move away from the ECD class at 3 years today and be able to become that professional, there is a way and there is means and there are interventions and there is mikakati. It's not just you wake up one day as a parent and say, you know what, 5 years from now you could actually even be a professor, huh? Then it becomes a hoax.
A grand lie.
We need to start by auditing where we are at currently. How is it that the small dreams of a hustler nation haven't been met? Did we audit to actually be told what went wrong? Why the dream of the plan have, as it was veiled, where we are with the plan, with the better plan, and what is working and what is not working? Or is it another rushed conversation to get Kenyans to believe that we are still on course or to just bring confusion?
Good question.
In principle, I have no problem with dreaming at TCD level to be a lawyer, to be an engineer, to be a cabinet minister. It should be encouraged. But once you have encouraged this ECD child to actually be that, come back and help them to say, this is what then you need to do in the simplest way possible. Remember, you're dealing with a child for them to understand. So what I would have expected the president to do, having voiced his dream and his goodwill and his wish for Kenya, is then to come back and in a very, very practical way, explain to the ordinary Kenyan, like the ECD child, so that I can understand and so that they don't start getting frustrated and thinking this is another lie packaged in a dream called Singapore Dream. Indeed.
A move from a third world country to a first world country.
Indeed.
That is what has been sold before our eyes. But then again, you've talked about the need for him to put this vision into a clear policy document. But let's talk at the cost component. Cited in this case is 5 trillion Kenya shillings. And the president wants to approach that particular cost by setting up an infrastructure fund. Already Kenyans are taking concern with the trust of who will be managing this kind of fund. Don't you think we are becoming an impediment to the president's vision if we are going to have trust deficits when it comes even to the resources we donate or we give him to implement these visions?
Richard, use the side mirror and look back at where we are coming from. How did we arrive here so that the trust deficit is where it is right now? Because it is deep. How did we end up as Kenyans not trusting what the person of a president says and we doubt it immediately? He voices it. Who should take responsibility? Let me offer a few suggestions.
Sure.
President Ruto and his colleagues in executive must take responsibility as a first charge. Because when he sold and was voted on the better plan, brings me back again, everybody bought, most people, not everybody really, bought into that plan because it felt like this is a plan that is going to kuweka pesa mifukoni ya mama mboga, boda boda, na wale wengine ambao wako chini sababu tutaunda serikali na wale.
A game changer. It was touted as such.
Yes. And because Kenyans are good people, really Kenyans are trusting. They trusted that to be the case. 3 years later, and I want to refer us to the State of the Nation, the president again shared with all of us on the 20th of November. We looked at a reality gap that has grown in terms of what the president is giving us and the facts that he is articulating about how the economy and the country has moved forward since he took over.
He talked about estimates indicate.
Right. The estimates indicator at the macroeconomic level. Talked about inflation, talked about the exchange and stabilization, talked about our debt servicing and how well we've performed in that, some of those very big things. He failed to articulate what that meant to Wanjiku in my village in Tumaini in Nyandarua, what that means. He failed to articulate to Onyango what that means in terms of pesa mfukoni. I spent a few days not long ago as I was going to pay my last respect to Baba Raila. And I spent time in Kisumu, I spent time in Bondo.
Yeah.
And on my way, I met people from different regions, not my usual Mulima, and my Mulima brothers. And as I was engaging with these people, they are as disillusioned because of the economic status at the micro level as we are in Nairobi and in Mulima and wherever else I go to. The reason is why. The reason is because the promises that were given, that there will be pesa mfukoni, effectively what the KK government has done to get into the mfukoni and make it worse for ordinary Kenyans. And therefore, speaking about the gap, the reality gap between the macro indicators that the president spoke about and the micro realities, the gap is actually widening. So my expectation then, even before we take the jet, because it can only be a jet taking us to Singapore, before we board the jet,
this airline.
Yes, my expectation would have been to quickly do an audit of what is Onyango in Kisumu Bondo saying, what is Wanjiro in Nyandarua saying, or in wherever it is they come from, and what is Sheriff here in Nairobi saying in terms of the impact that they are seeing currently. And there are many reasons why they are complaining, even when the president and his team are telling us we are on a journey and we are moving, and indeed we have moved. They may have moved with the macro. We are not moving at the micro.
Yeah.
And until the micro moves, then even boarding the jet will be a pipe dream. And will take a long time to be realized.
A chase after the winds.
I want to make a few observations.
Sure.
The KK government came on at a point where the public debt, granted, was reasonably big. At 8 trillion last year, was at 8 trillion last year, that is 2024. Inside 1 year, it is currently at 11.9 trillion. Call it about a spread of 4 trillion additional money. What's happening? So even if you are to pretend you're growing, you can see what is happening. Now, most of the money that is coming in by way of debt isn't actually going into productive interventions in the economy. It's going into a lot of recurrent expenditure. It's going into the debt servicing itself, as it were, by way of interest rates, this and the other. So when Wanjiku says we cannot feel it, please listen, because it is not trickling to their pockets. It's remaining mahewani. But worse still, the level of corruption, highest. The latest report on corruption in respect of Kenya by the African Development Bank indicates that we are dealing with about 180 billion per year in corruption. That is documented. Not you and I just saying there's corruption in Kenya. Yes, we know there's corruption, but we can put a figure to it.
That's an alarming figure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've talked about what Wanjiku is saying about the Kenya Kwanza administration and what they have delivered from an economic standpoint. But Omondi in Kisumu is saying, tuko kwa serikali, tuko na watu wetu kwa serikali. Do you think they are still living a lie that having mtu wetu there, whether Mbadi, whether Opio Ondai, in a way trickles down to their day-to-day living? You must have listened to my conversation with some of the people that I was with, actually, in Kisumu. And, because I wanted to hear it raw, I actually moved around in the evening and had dinner with some of these people. Local mwananchi. Yes,
and I went to the shopping area and they didn't know. They couldn't identify me. And this was the beauty about it. And I said to them exactly that. I said, you cannot be the ones complaining. Suddenly, you have loaned experts.
We're in the
and
kitchen.
You're part of this government, aren't you? And they said, Yao, that is for their stomachs and their immediate families. We ain't feeling it. And this was said by about 3 people to me.
The tune has changed that fast?
Oh, yes. I don't think it has changed. They are just voicing the reality, maybe to somebody who had not heard. Because remember, I'm reporting now.
Yeah.
I was the researcher that day. But it was very an engaging, evening, an engaging 2 days interacting with people and asking them, this. Half of them, or all of them, they didn't even know that I even had any association that I was coming to actually Kang or Kajarango.
Yeah.
They didn't know because this was Kisumu.
True.
And it's very interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
It is true the government, the official opposition is inside government. But it is also true it is not benefiting us at the micro
level,
at the domestic level. I've heard a few analysts, running around the TV stations, actually telling us how they have benefited, and Homa Bay has been heavily quoted. And I can also quote a bit of what's happening. There were projects that obviously we had started during the days of Uhuru administration. They are coming to fruition now, and so they can be cited. There are a few projects that have been started within the KK government, and because the KK government, when Baba joined, there must have been stuff that was negotiated, and there had to be development projects, again, that are being implemented. Then the housing, the low-cost housing project has been cited in a few cases. Big projects such as Soinkoru Dam, that was a big water project. It was started during my days as a cabinet secretary for water. A big water project in Homa Bay, another one in Bondo. We started them during my days as a minister. And then the first ever KMTC campus in Diwa, in Homa Bay. I actually went to ground break. So the project that was started then, but they're coming to fruition now. But the activists, political activists, would want us to believe it's come on because of this partnership that they have. Whereas I would have no quarrel if that was to happen. I think the import of the conversation I'm having with you is that just because people have come to give you a safeguard in your government so that then you're not run out of town, shouldn't warrant that they get the lion's share of development, neglecting the other region. I think that is simply just what I'm saying. Kenya is equal. Those who voted for KK president or didn't must be treated as if they have won Dr. Ruto as their president, and therefore there has to be equitable distribution of resources.
They all have a right to development and good governance.
We all have. We all have.
Let's circle back and still on the Singapore dream. Well, the government has always, for far too long now, cried of it operating within a constrained fiscal space. And one of the moves to address that particular gap is privatization of some of our state corporations. You've been a CS in several dockets, you've been a PS, and under you were a number of strategic state corporations. So now we are looking at Kenya Pipeline Company being put up for privatization, leasing of our state sugar mills. Do you think these PPPs have a record of working for the interests of Kenyans and the people, or it's all about selfish interest?
This is a weighty matter that Kenya is currently facing, and it's a weighty matter whose time had been anticipated long before its execution right now. I do recall that the cabinet that I served, we had a list of hundreds of the state enterprises that were not operating optimally and that were supposed to be privatized. And for some reason, a lot of work had gone into identifying these SOEs, we call them. And we want, at that point in time, be able to move to full execution. And so there is nothing, the problem in particularly privatizing the non-performing.
That's the word, non-performing.
Right? Non-performing, because that was a criteria, the principal criteria. Non-performing state enterprises. Now, the change in the current setting is that what is being privatized is not, strictly speaking, the non-performing. Actually, what is being privatized is what was viewed as the more strategic utility, SOEs, Which then begs the question, where did the policy shift happen? Number one. Number two, so if the policy shift happened at whatever point, were Kenyans carried with this new shift so that they feel confident that what government is doing is to benefit them? And number three, do you shift a policy when the trust deficit is this high? Do you even shift it when the corruption and lack of transparency is at an all-time high? Is it the right timing? Which begs the question to me, does the government care?
Does it?
Does it care whether really Kenyans matter in the decisions that are being made? And when it comes at the backdrop of a parliamentary institution that is completely compromised, many questions linger. Many questions linger because parliamentarians themselves are said to be a rubber stamp. They haven't denied. In fact, some of them have confirmed. So they will sing to the tune of the executive, so long as it serves executive interest. So all these questions and concerns put together, one then sits and wonders, is this the jet taking us to Singapore? Is this a ride to Singapore? Or is it a ride for a few people to benefit, as it were? Now, I've taken time to look at what is being proposed on the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Yeah.
Great thinking, beautiful visioning. But we completely delink ourselves from the realities of how Singapore became Singapore, vis-a-vis where we are currently. We completely disregard the prerequisites for a well-functioning sovereign wealth fund vis-a-vis where we are, and we do not convince any Kenyan that whereas the vision, the intentions are good, we don't convince any Kenyans, least of all myself, that we mean well for the ordinary Kenyans, and particularly the future generations. These are my concerns.
The Constitution, of course, carries the spirit of the local mwananchi being taken through public participation when it comes to matters such as privatization of our strategy, of our state corporations at large. But then again, if you look at the conduct of our PPP transactions, do you have an impression that maybe this administration is treating Kenyans and Kenyan taxpayers as though they are living in a secret society? Because now, every move from the government comes to privatization is seen just as a conduit to make money for those who are undertaking the transaction.
You know, it is not in doubt that the people involved in these transactions are making a hell lot of money, a lot of money. And that's okay, if that was one of the objectives. Because you and I weren't carried through to really know, you know, all the objectives. And that's all right. But what concerns me, and the reason I would want to agree with you that this is being treated like those secret societies, is actually Parliament has given the CS National Treasury discretion to decide which of the state enterprises can be privatized without reference to you or me.
Express authority
lies
with him.
Oh yes, and that has actually been processed through. And there wasn't too much conversations or debate around this. Meaning, therefore, really the CAS, who is an appendix of the president, have the veto power to decide whether today it is Richard Limited. And we pretend you're not doing well, and whether you're doing well, it doesn't matter really whether you're performing well. We decide you're the one. Tomorrow you are off in the market. That has been granted to the CS. I see it to be a recipe of deepening the trust deficit. I see it to be a recipe of saying to Kenyans, you can do what it is you think you can do, but we are moving. In any case, we dream Singapore. I see it at a point of causing further disillusionment to the ordinary Kenyans when these details begin to now be laid to them. Because, you know, the regulation that I speak to, where the CES, National Treasury, has been given this, you know, unchecked, if you will, power, I find it to be in bad taste, as Sicily is in bad taste.
The other day I was having a conversation with an economist, and he was speculating that chances are high, in the run-up to 2027 elections, we are going to see propped up economic indicators, in the sense that there's going to now be ease in the cost of living, all just but to get the vote. That is now from the president's grand scheme of things. For you've been in public service, you're a politician, you're a leader. Do you see this as the strategy that's going to be in play come 2027 elections?
Oh yes, without a doubt. Really without a doubt, because you do recall that we had a lot of excuses in 2022, 23, 24. Until 2024, you know, the Gen Z activism kind of jolted the president and his team a little bit, you know, put them on a reverse gear a little bit. A couple of commitments were made, and we saw the cabinet being reorganized. It was really very topical. We didn't go to deal with the symptoms. And there hasn't been tangible, if you will, development from where I sit. I come from a region where we had prepared several projects across the board. I came from a ministry where we had projects in all the corners of the country, including what I have just talked about in the western region, the coast region. We had projects, you know, all over the place. And I can tell you that as soon as we were out of office, a lot of these projects stopped, stalled at the point where they were. The contractors were not paid until, I'm being told, a couple of months ago, you know, like on the roads and the big water projects, they've been paid. There was a promise of 100 mega dams, if you recall, within the plan. None of them today have seen the light of day, and where the region where I come from, there's some rushed kind of activity now to come and you know, move a few kilometers forward of the road network. I haven't witnessed any in terms of water. And so, yes, it is possible in the remainder of the time of this admin, you are going to see some heightened activities. The fact that they confess they have already paid the pending bills, or most of the pending bills. You can also be certain, because this KK government thinks Machiavellian, you are going to actually see them enticing more people. You've already witnessed it in church. Suddenly we are back to church as if we never left.
And I'm ashamed of my mothers from central Kenya. I come from the community.
Or are you?
I am.
What have they done now? What have they done to you?
Dancing to the tune of politics of tokenism and handouts.
Okay.
Especially from the pulpit perspective. I thought we were moving away from this trend. Why are we back there, Honorable?
Okay. Don't condemn all your mothers. Please don't.
All right.
You do, you're also condemning me, and you know I will not be part and parcel of the kind of...
guided.
You know, illogical, you know, platform that we saw. Suffices to say that I'm particularly also disappointed with the churches that will give a platform for this kind of showing. It is demeaning. It is actually driving people who genuinely come to church to worship away from, you know, those premises. But the politicians who did it, I think, need to be completely ashamed. And God in heaven would forgive me for using that strong language. They need to be ashamed, because you're coming back again to show us how cheap you are. And in the process, you get a whole community and a region being condemned. It is not fair. But let me come back to my trail of thought, because your emotions kind of got me off the rail. Right? And so to say that there's going to be some development that physically we can all witness across, particularly the areas which have been very hostile to the president, and particularly the mountain area. To say that, I think there's already evidence, so that I can confirm, and that you can take to the bank. To say that the president has also been moving around, you know, negotiating for deals even externally. China, comes up. You remember he went there and came back with some goodies, including the Lironi Mau Road. You remember that?
The dual lane.
Lately, he has been with the President Trump and was the first, I must congratulate, to sign on the America First health deal, you know, from the region. So
part of our conversation.
So you will see a little bit of some goodies trickling in and being directed, you know, to the grassroots. And of course, the country has continued to witness what we see to be illogical empowerment moves, again, to whip public and do a bit of PR stints. You'll see a lot of that.
Under the guise of empowerment programs?
Yes, you will see that. And yeah, you know, people will be going home with 200 shillings. Worst case scenario, they'll even be going with 60 shillings. So you'll see a lot of this because, unfortunately, the reality is that we are back onto the campaign trail. We were in 2024, you know, immediately after the Gen Z uprising. Yeah. We perfected it this year, 2025. We will see heightened politicking in 2026. Never mind, the calendar doesn't allow this activism in terms of vote hunting until it must be February of 2027.
6 months to the election.
But when the president does it, who are we not to join? You know, really. So you will see a bit of this. You will see a few of the churches without good structure and particularly government, you know, really. So you will see a bit of this. You will see a few of the churches without good structure and particularly governance structures and form and principled leadership. You will see them actually being the platform where we see a bit of what we saw on, you know, Sunday in Gatondo. You will see a bit of restlessness because it will be time now to attempt to lure our young people to begin taking sides. And so you'll see a lot of commotion going forward. Yes.
It makes sense. You've mentioned about the young people. And just so not to run the risk of not being re-elected because he never delivered the promise he made to the young Kenyans when it comes to employment opportunities, the president is committed to take the route of labor export. But then again, if revelations from Russia, from Saudi Arabia, from Oman, anything to go by, are we too big on fulfilling that ambition, but at the price of auctioning our children to slavery?
Better question to ask is that do we have the right model and approach to resolving the unemployment crisis?
Tell me.
Today, out of 10 young Kenyans, only 3 would say are gainfully employed. Right? I mean, there are cases that we can have a look at to say, how did they hack the unemployment you know, challenges that they were facing? Look at countries like Vietnam, for example. Look at a small country like Rwanda. Look at Germany and what it is they are doing. And we are not short of learning. But I think what it is we are doing is that we are quick with plans which are not thought out in terms of implementation and the implication when we come to implementation. We are quick in speaking to Kenyans as if they don't have common sense to think exactly what you're doing. Because when you keep on hammering and telling us you're exporting labor to go and do mijengo and that you are constructing houses across the country so that you employ young people, it's really an abuse to Kenyans who, especially the ones who don't fit in that bracket. I think that from where I sit, sustained economic growth is what is going to yield employment opportunities in countries that are sustainable by way of getting investments in country that are going to be able to give us opportunities to employ from the lowest to the highest level the people, the young people who are going through university and other colleges and are skilled. Number one. Number two, we've said that there is a mismatch between what the market requires and the skill set. And I think we need, whereas there are some attempts around that area, we need that to be intensified, as it were. Bottom line, the economy must grow, not because we dream Singapore, but because we have the right interventions and we're investing where our mouth is. That's what I make. I mean, quickly, the young people who qualify to be exported to the countries you're speaking about, we need to be assured of the safeguards in terms of where it is they are being exported. We never had a deal that we were going to export young people to Russia. Yeah. You know, to be at the front. That was never a conversation. And Kenyan parents are very disappointed if they are keen, are part of the people that find themselves on that side. I'm aware of some conversations around, especially the UAE countries and labor there. We still have problems there because we've had cases of girls coming back either maimed, coming back in coffins, and sometimes just being surely mistreated because of the way things are being handled. So it's an area which needs actually a bit of being tightened, whereas it is a market for people really with very, very basic skill set. Now, is that really something for us as a country to be sitting and hammering and speaking of how it is we are doing? That should not be even 1% of our pathway for resolving our unemployment.
So we need to be taking pride in that?
No, not really. Not really. Yet again, I'm saying a very negligible percentage of that as a pathway to resolve our unemployment is excusable. But it cannot be what we wake up to preach about and be proud about. No, we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't.
I get it. Yeah. You are a mother, you are a grandmother, and part of your family members will be out here looking for job opportunities. But if they're going to come to this market, which has little opportunities for them, if not none, just how much of a ticking time bomb is this unemployment crisis? What took Gen Z to the streets was just that state of desperation, nothing being in sight for them in as far as their future is concerned. We clearly are still stuck in the same ground. What is the worst that can happen?
Every Kenyan today, and particularly any Kenyan holding a leadership position today, should be extremely concerned that we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. And it was evident last year. And we've seen what has happened in other countries. True. It is not people my age, really, that cause revolutions. Yeah. It is these guys full of energy who temporarily have been quietened because they've been maimed, they've been killed, they've been threatened, they've been taken out. And therefore, temporarily, they seem to be silenced. But you know, they say, what do they say comes before alarm? What do they say? Right? Yeah. So really, I think the government in power today should do everything within their means to attempt to resolve the unemployment crisis. Saying this, I'm very, very aware that it is not a tap that you can switch on and off. It is a process. But you see, the trajectory needs to be convincing. So when we stop Mijengo, low cost, because it will come to an end, what will you do with these guys? Number two, I am aware there is what we call the Nyota program. True. 820,000 Kenyans.
50K each.
Right, 50K each, and they can set up if they are given a conducive environment. And so when we have taken out 850, what do we do with the rest? Because every year we are churning out close to 1 million, if not, out of our institutions of higher education, right? True. What are we going to do with that?
Maybe head over to the bodaboda sector. Incentives have been fronted.
I'm aware that we are also doing stuff around the gig economy, right? But we also want to come back and begin some ingenious way of taxing the young people operating within the gig economy.
You're right.
Are we headless? I mean, we are saying this is a problem we are resolving, but on the other hand, we also want to come and chew a bit through taxation, right?
A hand gives the other tax.
And we also want to come back and perhaps take a little bit for our housing projects because
it's
compulsory. It's also compulsory. I mean, there has to be coherence in terms of the policy direction and interventions that we take. There has to be alignment between policy and interventions. It cannot be contradiction. There's a bit of contradictions that keep coming here and there. So I think thinking long term, like I said, we are not short of attempts in sectors where staff has worked, in countries where staff has worked in terms of resolving youth unemployment, and we have lessons to learn. In any case, 62 years after independence, there's so much that we have have learned and can also unlearn. But we are not applying ourselves. We are acting as if Kenya was created 3 years ago. No. Pick what worked in Jomo 1, Kenyatta 1 era. A bit of it, we are still back. We've cycled back and we are there. We are there, dealing with issues of poverty, ignorance, health. Are we not speaking about the same conversation 62 years later?
We are here.
So, is it that we didn't learn? I took time to have a look at particularly the health systems during Kenyatta 1 era.
That's your forte anyway, health issues.
I had a chance of just familiarizing myself with what happened then and what's happening right now. In being sophisticated, we think public, primary health, preventive and promotive health isn't sophisticated if we were to invest our resources there. And so we've allowed our systems to move towards what we view to be curative, so that a little sneeze, you're in a hospital, you're on an antibiotic which may be counterfeited, or which you didn't even need in the first place. But we should have actually stopped, that sneeze by applying and exposing you to promotive health and seeing how you take care of yourself.
Such is the missing link.
It is the missing link. So 50 years later, we are being called to come back and say, so where did the rain start beating us? What did we exaggerating and what did we miss? What are the opportunities that we forewent? We must come back again to primary health care model. I did propose this. I sang about it. And we blind ourselves not to see or listen to this because we think in putting up very huge structures, that is why you get healthcare. No, that's why you get thieves. Because when you put up big structures, that's where the contractors get your 10, 20% and give you back. If you're the minister, if you're the governor, if you're whoever it is, that's not where you get health. You get health by dealing with what is very foundational. Make sure you have the basic medicines available in the facilities that are already there. Making sure that you have the basic equipment that you require in those facilities. Making sure the missing link that you have healthcare at the ratio that is required to be able to attend to the sick people. But importantly, getting people away from the facility and dealing with them at the community level.
Something bigger than just changing NHIF to SHA.
No, that's a by the way for now.
It's a by the way for now.
That's a by the way.
Actually, the pride of a nation lies in how it takes care of its most vulnerable in the society.
Yeah.
The administration of today came to power riding on the backs of these hustlers. Those are the bottom part of the social pyramid.
Yeah.
So then again, would you say that we were never even genuine enough when it comes to that particular agenda?
I was not part of that team, you remember? But evidence is that as soon as we got into office, I think we really didn't care what the ordinary people thought after that. And that is why you see we are moving the goalposts now. Suddenly we are from better, the hustler and the downtrodden, and quickly now we are on a jet headed to Singapore. So the evidence is that something wasn't together and something is still not together, even right now. If I was to offer my 2 cents
on this,
I would think while we dream about Singapore and we dream about putting the sovereign wealth fund together for future generations and current investments, while we focus on investing in infrastructure, because we need infrastructure, we do not need infrastructure in a vacuum. We need infrastructure and we need power and we need railway movement of goods in the presence or in a binary approach, so that we are also looking at the hustler, the ordinary Kenyans, right, who then would be the beneficiaries of this dream of Singapore. And for us to need them, it means we need to go back to the basics again. We must come and address the health of the ordinary people, and that needs to be fixed yesterday, not today, and not fixed by way of these grand schemes of stealing 104 billion worth of a system that still will collapse, right? So we need, again, going back to the basics. We need to come and look at our education sector, Because even if you take us to Singapore and you have messed up our university funding model, and therefore we can't afford to take the young people to university, I don't know whose dream then. And I don't know whose sovereign wealth fund you're creating it for, because you'll have messed up the generations that you think you currently are caring for. We must come back again and look at basic economic empowerment, not by the way of 200 shillings, but interventions that will actually get me at the micro level to do what it is that I do for a living and be able to have some money in the pocket. We must come back and look in a binary version. Approach, dream and keep going, no problem. Dreams are valid, all of them, right? But then come and sort my now and here needs. And the basic ones are the ones I have talked about. While on that, allow me to mention also an issue that because you can do all this, and because the security structures in the society, security interventions are not functional, you have half of the women being killed. The femicide rates are the highest now. I've looked at women as we were celebrating and reminding ourselves of the 16 days of activism. That is, an international, if you will, movement for which countries are called to stop, reflect, and see how issues of gender equity, and particularly gender-based violence, how that is panning out in their specific countries. And I took time because this 16 days came to an end on 10th of December. That's last week. And when I looked at what's happening, I was saddened to actually get the statistics telling me, when I was a minister, CS for gender and related services, femicide stood at, or the recorded femicide cases per year was about 50 femicide cases. 50? 50, 50. Bad enough, because losing one woman because of femicide is bad enough.
It's one too many.
But currently, last year's statistics are standing at 170 for the year. That's 200% increase.
Triple the figure.
And we are here speaking about a democracy that is maturing. So again, we may chase the dream and we miss the micro and the users and the beneficiaries of that dream. So I come back and say, I call on government again, given that we are just coming out of this season of the 16 days of activism, gender-based violence is something that we really must have a genuine conversation about and proper interventions instituted. And I say this because even though we've been dealing with conventional cases of gender-based violence, we have seen now this is also becoming sophisticated. Anything in the artificial intelligence era, anything that's coming now, there is a risk, a further risk. And therefore we have seen an increase of technology-assisted gender-based violence.
True.
That is risky, especially for women who are in leadership or intend to go into leadership, particularly political leadership. And therefore that requires to be addressed by people in office today.
Fantastic, well put. Before we go full throttle on the politics of today and the governance issues in Kenya at large, let's just circle back a little bit. You speak about policy issues with a lot of clarity, and you can tell this is someone who has a mastery of what's needed to be done in Kenya's policy landscape. You've exited public service, yes, but still in active public service, there are brilliant minds there in. Talk about people like Chris Kipto and many, many others. But I want to understand something. Yes, Cecily is out of active public service at the executive level. But even those who are presently there, how comes their brilliance cannot be felt in the advisory maybe they're churning out to the president? Because if indeed the president was a consumer of this good intelligence from public policy analysts, we could be seeing the ripple effect. Is it a case of, yes, advice as good as the recipient, but the recipient in this case does not have sufficient grace to tap into this advisory?
Again, like you, I can only guess, and there are patterns that are already coming out in terms of, yes, if you have this many people, and there are many advisors, there are a lot of people that some of who I shared office with during the last admin, and they are brilliant and they know a thing or two. Now, if there's a conflict in terms of who it is that you're advising, it doesn't matter how intelligent you could be, number one. Number two, the minute you surround yourself with too many experts or advisors who are supposed to work in a coherent approach with the technical people that you have put on your payroll, it always becomes a big, big challenge unless you can mediate that relationship, because always there's a conflict of who knows better than who. And number three, I think that the politics of the day seem to be overtaking the technical expediency of decisions that are being made. And it is no wonder then we actually recruit and deploy ambassadors on the go.
Yeah.
You know?
Even from campaign trails.
From the campaign trails, exactly that. And because I think we must reward the people who seem to be loyal to us. They don't answer back. They belong to us. They're from our village. We will need them when we retire. Then political expediency outweighs a technical expediency. And this is why we find ourselves where we are today. I was beginning to suggest that the dream of Singapore is anchored on many things, but the most important anchor is meritocracy, functioning institutions, and zero tolerance to corruption.
Be it from your relative or campaign financier.
Take the mirror and look at yourself, dear Kenya. Meritocracy has been sacrificed on the altar of political expediency. True or not? That Kenya, you can answer. Join me. I can give you enough examples. Number two, corruption. I just cited the figures. And we seem to enjoy it, right? We seem to enjoy that. When I grow up and I'm an MP, I'll also be there. I'll make money like that.
I must live in Karen, by whatever means.
Absolutely. And number three, functioning institutions that enjoy independence is a major anchor of the Singapore. Then 50 years ago, not now. And that has continued to be. What have we done in Kenya? We don't have weak institutions.
What do we have?
We have weakened our institutions.
Okay.
You know, you could have a weak institution by default. Either because
the operating framework,
right, or the legal framework. It could be the people in, and you know, you can correct that. But here we've had functioning institutions, and several of them have been weakened deliberately. That is why we do not have the three arms of government functioning as they are supposed to be. Independent, but also interdependent. So you have a parliament that is an extension of executive.
True.
They say it is all over. Then you have a judiciary which gets compromised and threatened, oftentimes. Then you have independent institutions like the IBC, whose latest example, if there's anything to go by, leaves a lot to be desired.
Erastus the Con holds a contrary view from yours because he talks about it is impossible to rig elections in Kenya. That was his statement a few days ago, just after the by-elections.
Right.
Is it really the true picture of the IBC of today?
No, talk to 50 million Kenyans. I don't think that Sicily alone is very competent to say this, but it is out in the open. And it is no wonder some petitioners have actually moved to court. I'm aware of journalists who, in the Mbeere North case, were told, shut your equipment and sit on the floor until we are done.
What?
Yes. I mean, I have people around.
You have your intelligence network. You also are a raw consumer of intelligence, just like the president.
To the micro level. So, you know, and then, of course, we saw a lot of bribery. We saw a lot of GOK goodies being, given out. And we saw a lot of, you know, these. And so really, for you to stand there and tell Kenyans it is not possible to do these things, and we are seeing it, is back to what I told you. Taking Kenyans too much for granted. And taking Kenyans, as if Kenya, an ordinary Kenyan, we are a bit designing. So let's be fair and kind to each other. If a gap or an error occurs, I always believe as a leadership coach and trainer, it is much better to own the problem and say, I didn't intend it to go this way, but it's gone and I'm going to course correct. as opposed to standing there and saying, no, 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 it wasn't me. No, 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 you will take responsibility.
It makes sense.
You will finally.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Talking about matters to do with elections, let's begin from an East African standpoint. Every other day we sing about Jumuiya yetu.
Yes.
Yeah, this East African community affair and the dream we have, common currency, moving to a place whereby intra-Africa trade will be something we can do without even sweating about it.
Right.
But from a democratic standpoint, if the sham elections, clearly there were sham elections in Tanzania, many had to die. I mean, the landslide win from Samia Suluhu, of course, being questioned by many. In Uganda as well, some of our boys have been taken under sort of jail environment just because they were speaking out aloud about their constitutional rights or democratic beliefs. Also back here in Kenya, we still are on that path of suppressing contrary views. But we keep talking about Kenya being a robustly democratic country, or even East Africa at large. Is this Jumuiya yetu dream more of just a dream on paper? It isn't really felt at the ground level.
You know, I don't know where what I would consider to be bad manners started. I don't know whether it started with us here in Kenya after the Gen Z uprising, because that's when we saw a lot of young people being taken out. And that is when we saw, you know, dissent and the opposition, the opposing voices actually also being taught a lesson or two. That is when we saw the reemergence of goons assisting, you know, police and armed guys to deal with people who said anything contrary to what the government wanted to hear. This is when, immediately after this, when we had actually a very, very unfortunate statement by the president that shoot by the leg and the wataenda wakiendaga police. Then one of the colleagues in the political space, must have been a member of parliament, decided it was bad enough to deal with the leg, actually shoot to kill, especially, and again, the minister, who is supposed to be assuring us of security. Murkomen actually came and said, that, you know, anywhere near the police stations, shoot and kill. I don't know whether the bad manners then through osmosis may have found its way to Tanzania, because then what was seen in Tanzania was a perfection of that very undesirable situation. And needless to say, there were very disappointed people viewing the president of Tanzania as a woman and not just as a president. And I've said, give us a break. Don't bring a women conversation into this, because this is, she took the decision she took with her cabinet and her system as a president, not necessarily as a woman, you know, because I've heard them, you know. And I must say personally, I've met President Suluhu once, twice, and was really encouraged by her demeanor and her approach to things, and had hoped better for Tanzania. Had hoped that, you know, she would cross over more objectively, because even the way she acceded to that office, I mean, everybody knows how she did. But it must be very, very disappointing that Tanzanians also had to die for her to come into office for the second term. And I don't know what to expect from Uganda either, because again, we've had President Museveni has been there for the longest time now, and just visiting Uganda not long ago, I can see that the vibes that I pick talking to people there 2 weeks ago, they're more or less resigned to fate, and they think that he's coming back. And I wouldn't be surprised then if he comes back and he says it will be the last, atakuja kufunga ile kazi ameanza, then maybe he can go home after that. And so from the lenses of democracy, we really are moving down the hill very, very quickly as a region. I don't know whether this should comfort you, because it seems to also be global phenomena that we're actually moving down the hill in matters democracy. And if you look at what's happening in US, for example, you can get the same sense as it were. Should we give up? I think not.
Certainly.
I think not. And when I look at the contradiction or the comparison between President Samia Suluhu and what happened in Tanzania last month, and I look at what happened in Namibia a few months ago, and again, Nadia, President Nadia, and the, you know, she's really holding the bull by the horns and, you know, saying, no, 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 not again. We here, tutajisoti sisi. You don't give up. You say that there are still many level-headed people who are willing to salvage their nations, and how I pray that we can have more of those kind of people taking over, you know, presidency and leadership in our, particularly our continent, because it is the last frontier when it comes to riches, untapped natural resources, youthful population. You know, how I pray that that becomes the trend. For now, I think the ordinary citizens will have to help themselves. Yes, tutajisaidia. And help ourselves by doing several things. One, we must speak truth to power. That I do without a lot of effort, because that is the only other platform, among the few platforms I have. We'll speak. When we think it's wrong, we will say it's wrong. Number two, help ourselves in terms of digging where we are and kind of not waiting for manna from above, just working as hard as you can in the little spot where you are in control. That where you have what we call the parameters that allow you to take charge of either your family or your village or at the community level, doing what it is that you think you need to do as a leader. Number three, by engaging in conversations that help Richard and the other gentleman to think twice when it comes to partaking of, say, corruption proceeds, and saying, you know, what am I looking for? For sustained development in my community, in my society, in my village, in my county. I need a leader who is beyond reproach. And how do we weigh or measure this kind of leader? Is it the one who steals and comes and shares the loot? Or is it the one who has a vision that is aligned to a path of development in my village? And therefore, these we need to school ourselves across the board. And it will not take the national level for you to school the people around you to do this. And number four, to my reflection, is joining hands where they are like-minded. People who think alike need to come together and form a movement. And this is a place of the united opposition, to my understanding, currently, even in Kenya.
And you are marked right at the center of it.
I am part of it. I won't run away from that. And I'm there out of choice. Because we need alternative voices that can tell the government, hey, you know, that's not how to do it. That's not how to take us for granted. This is where policy is not being coherent and that kind of thing. So I'm right there. Yes.
We are coming to that in a few. Now, do you foresee a situation whereby the president is likely to borrow the script from Samia Suluhu? Clearly, the hand of the state was there in the Tanzania Sham elections. If the events of the just concluded by-elections in Kenya are anything to go by, you could see the handwriting of the state in terms of even handouts or just the intimidation that was leveled in the way of the opponents of the candidates of today's administration. Clearly, Waziri, don't you have an impression that we have a reason to fear? Probably the president will force his way in 2027 at whatever price.
So let me come back and say, I pull out one word that I threw you in. Maybe you didn't take note of it. Power, the Machiavelli way. Says the minute you get power, don't let it off.
Hold on to it.
And I think the president is a good student of that philosophy. So I really don't see President Ruto making it easy for anybody, right, to unseat him. He will do everything and anything that is possible to do.
Including unconstitutional ways.
I have no doubt that hanging on to power. Now, if you look at what happened in the by-elections, and if you look at the pride with which the president stepped out, I was actually out of the country, but I was able to follow clips now.
Murima bado ni yangu.
Because then quickly went out to launch the Rironi, Mau, I think 2 days or something like this, immediately after. And he didn't speak kindly for somebody who had won, if he had won genuinely.
It could have been felt.
I mean, we knew. So I don't think that there are many signs of him wanting to let go easily. If I cycle back and listen to what his, are they called addicts? There are people now called Ruto addicts.
Oh, really?
Ruto addicts.
Ah.
Right? If you listen to how they speak, One, and I was very disappointed because she comes to my face. The name goes. This lady in Northeastern said, hata kama ni kuiba kura, tutajaza. I'm sure that's familiar.
Yeah, sure, very.
And then I think one member of parliament, again from the Rift, stood up and actually also said the same.
We shall manipulate.
And it was repeated over and over and over again. It is there for you to read. So whatever it is that we'll need to do, they will do at whatever price. If you come back again to the by-elections and look at what happened, it was really a statement and a pathway to say, you know, I'm in charge, right? Na hii ndio mutaona, by the way.
Sisi ndio fire,
yes.
Fire.
Wakaendelea hivyo. So we have reason to be worried. But since we still have time between here and there, the conversation which I've had in terms of saying tutajisaidia sisi wenyewe, the conversation around civic education or civic engagement with the reality need to be on top gear in the coming year and the year after. So that you can look at yourself and say, I keep on asking, you know, my people anytime at the ground level, why would you want to sell your vote for 200 shillings for the day or 500 shillings, even if it was 2,000? Why would you want to sell your vote for a meal or 2 meals for one day, and then you forgo development for 5 years, or you forgo the 500 every day for 5 years? Why would you want to do that? So that conversation we need to have. It is media houses such as yourselves and the ones who really mean well, who will have to also take a responsibility to intensify these engagements so that the people who really out of ignorance do not understand what it means can begin to reflect. It is at this point that I also invite the church not to give a platform to the kind of goons that we saw the other day, but to give a platform to people who speak objectively by way of educating people who may not actually take time to reflect. It is at this point in time, again, I say the community leaders need to have a conversation with the people who, for some reason, one or another, may not have the deep interpretation of what it is we are saying. It is at that point that some of us will continue running around to speak and telling it as it is, because 200 shillings, 2,000 shillings even for the day, and you actually give up. I'm told even in the by-elections that were giving, you know, you get, I think, the first 500 shillings, then you give your ID and your voter's card, and you'll come to collect it as you get the balance of either 1,000 or something like this. This is what was, there were transactions that were happening like that, okay? It has happened before because in 2022, I witnessed a bit of this myself. You know, in my county, I witnessed a bit of this and was reasonably unhappy. Had the police person who was in charge of this particular post being called to task. But as soon as I went away, he was released because he's part of the conduit. So these things happen. But we are saying, I think we are at a defining moment as a democracy.
In what sense?
So we either are going to decide to turn the corner or keep going so that democracy can be deepened and the prospect of our economic growth can be at least more realistic and closer to where it is we want to go, so that we don't have to have the number of Kenyans currently living in poverty. We don't. 62 years after independence, well endowed with natural resources, good brains, you know, invested in educated population. We don't need to be where we are today in terms of our GDP. Not at all.
We can do better.
We should be doing better.
But
we'll only do better if you, the voter, make it your responsibility to also help. You know, your member of parliament is only one. Serving 100,000 of you.
True.
But you're the people who put him there, right? And you put him there because last night he came with 200 shillings. No. I think we have to part with the past.
Or akakuja na leso.
Leso haiendagi sana because you use that. Leso
I'm happy that you know all these realities.
Leso ni hiyo tu ya kubrand. Na tukifika pahali, even that leso, if I want to eat from you and you, nitaikunja na nitupe. Then I come to you innocently. Or if I come with a yellow t-shirt and I had a red t-shirt. I'll wear one on top of the other and look innocent and wait on queue. Yeah, so
you've really been a good student of ground politics, I see. And you're coming to that in our final minute, but not to throw you off balance. The other day you paid tribute to Raila Odinga. You were there at Kango Kajaramogi, and you've really expounded your thoughts on democracy here in Kenya. Now, there seemingly are cracks within ODM party, much as you are under DCP party. Just how much of a puncture to the space or the fight for better democracy is it, should now ODM crumble down now that Baba is off the scene?
Well, yes, I mean, it was delayed for me to have actually visited Bondo, and I needed to do it within the right timing when there isn't too much noise and politicization of who went to see Baba and to pay their last respect. And therefore, I really needed to be able to get out there and hug Mama Ida. She's hosted me in the past when we were figuring out the Azimio conversations with the late Prime Minister. And therefore, I had duty to be there. But I also needed to do that so that I could begin my journey of the reality, politics in Kenya without Baba Raila. You will recall I was actively involved with the Azimio politics.
Sure.
Then between Baba Raila and Martha, my good friends, I was putting together their structures and logistics and everything for my county in Nyandarua when I stepped off the political journey, and therefore it's somebody that we engaged with closely at that point many times. Of course, you went with dreams that we had not really fulfilled. He owed Nyandarua a couple of visits and a couple of people that but as soon as he moved back towards the KK government, then he became a little bit distant now from me because I was following a different ideology. But may God rest his soul. The team in ODM has said, the teams have also said, the shoes that Raila wore are a bit too big for any one of them to fit in. Which brought to me the question of succession within the political space. It normally doesn't happen. And where it happens, it doesn't very well. So there must have been a gap in terms of succession. Some of them, including his brother, the Honorable Senator, has actually indicated that, in those very words, that Baba's shoes are a bit too big, but he will try and stabilize things. But clearly there is a gap. But a gap coming at a point where you have two factions, one thinking we have been left within the KK government and therefore that is where we must stay. And I want to call those the beneficiaries of the KK government where they sit. These are the CSs and my sister Wanga. They feel comfortable there because it's familiar, and in their view they have seen matunda kiasi kiasi yenye hawangapata. Then you have the other faction which is a little bit removed and is not enjoying the fruits as they fall kwa miguu yao. This is the other faction, again, Mheshimiwa Sifuna, my good friend, who were with him on the Azimio campaign trail, Babu and Orengo, again, my very good friend. And Winnie, Nabu Winnie seems to also be on that side. Projecting a more pragmatic team that has woken up and said the reality is that Baba is not here. We may not have a glue that keeps us together the way he did, and therefore we need to start vending for ourselves and getting space for ourselves and moving forward. And those divisions are clear from my own observation. Talking to a few of them, those divisions are clear. And the more pragmatic faction feeling that we don't fit into the KK space. Because that was opportunistic and a very temporary arrangement. And of course, in between here, KK and President Ruto attempting to, to come in and say, so how do I still bring the two together and continue chaperoning them, for lack of better English. And so clearly there's going to be change in the politics the way we know it, in the region, in Nyanza region, but importantly in the country. In the absence of Baba Raila. You will recall he was the captain of public demonstrations.
True.
You will recall every government that came to be that he was not part of through election, he ended up there one way or another.
Give it to him.
In 2018, he joined the Ruto
Yeah.
admin, which I was part of, and he knew how to look for staff. Now, I don't see somebody whose believability can be as high as that he can be part of another government where he was not elected to office. Change number one. Change number two, I think that there will be attempts. From where I sit, I've heard the principals in the United Opposition welcoming this faction, which is looking for a home.
Yeah.
Inviting them and welcoming them home because this is where they belong, because they are born. Then I've heard the other side pulling on the other side. Yeah. That's number two. And we are going to see that deepening, but being refined as we move towards 2027. You'll see that being more defined and more refined. And number three, it was almost obvious if you associated with Baba and you came from that region and you said Tosha, then really you toshed. Right? I think that is now a thing of history. That's a thing of history. You must work hard for it. And therefore you are seeing whoever called them the orphans trying to wonder now, how do we maneuver in this space? I'm glad because it may give a different sense of what political leadership ought to be. That really who you have is not under duress, direct or indirect. That really you deserve. And therefore, I'm also looking forward to learning a little bit about that.
Fantastic. Finally, Waziri, it's in the public domain. You are running for Nyandarua Governor Camp 2027. And not just that, I mean, we the media have heavily reported on your mobilization down there in Nyandarua County. Not really out of bias, actually not out of bias, but because your works are so visible. I mean, anyone can feel what you do in Nyandarua County. But there's only one concern. Are you not in fear that you might run out of breath because you've hit the ground with such a thud, yet we still have 2 years to go?
It's interesting from the media that you actually are able to follow what it is I'm doing. If you have followed and documented, not one or twice, I am so relaxed. I am so relaxed. Actually, what I'm doing in this phase, if you remember again, the actual campaign period is February, right, of 2027, 6 months through to August. So anybody even pretending to actively be engaged in, campaigning isn't behaving well. But like I said, we are responding to what the president has said for us. He's on the rooftop, so if you have a car with the rooftop, you also go, you greet people, and then you go home.
You also promise a road here and there?
You go home. No, nothing to promise for now.
But when you get power.
Yes. But you see now, what is happening, at least for me, it's without a doubt. God willing, good health, all things being equal. Ceteris paribus. Is that what it is?
All other factors held constant.
If everything remains constant. I intend to offer myself to run as a governor of Nyandarua, 018. And I do this because I haven't finished business. If you followed my story that I disembarked off the ship before I could actually go to the campaign, all the way to the campaign, to the voting,
much to the disappointment of many.
To the debe, sikufika pale. So I haven't finished business. That. Number two, I have people at the ground level who still think we didn't finish, we were waiting for you. We had dodged you on, so we are waiting. And so it cannot be me saying I'm not available, so I'm going to be available. And number three is that the burden that I carry, then still carry today, is that I think that my network, my experience, my passion to serve, what it is I know, not a lot of people know in terms of service delivery from the public platforms. And therefore, I have what I think I want to, I would wish to offload then, given a chance and even making better. I performed on, say, an agenda of the president who was the carrier of the development agenda for the country. I would want to be in a situation where I'm able to actually look at issues from crafting policy or domesticating policy to structuring interventions and delivering on the same within my space, holding myself accountable, and also the people of Nyandarua and the system and structures that exist. But I would want to see the 360, as opposed to a cabinet minister whims of the president. You don't? I would want to feel like that will give me a lot of satisfaction. And because I am certain I'm equal to it. It is a smaller space. It's a space where I think is very familiar to me. Yes.
Rightly put. Finally, you've tapped into a gap in public service. That is, probably you are a public servant or you're just a state officer without the requisite capacity to lead or at least even to coach your juniors. And with your firm, I understand you're doing a lot of leadership coaching out here. How far are you with it so far? And just how important is it to equip our leaders with these skills?
So look, before I respond to that, let me come back and say that I want to assure anybody that is listening to us that what I'm doing currently, I'm actually not campaigning.
Yeah.
You know where I belong?
More of empowerment.
You know, no, I belong to a chama where we say we're listening to the ground. So I'm actually listening. I'm listening.
To get that intelligence which you've talked about.
And to, you know, to reassure them that I will be there when the time comes, but also to deeply be able to appreciate their needs and requirement, but just to keep it warm.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm also doing a bit of empowerment because that at the community level, I do believe that the little that I can have, and when it's shared, it brings more meaning. I also do mentor upcoming leaders.
Fantastic.
And so that keeps me then there. Then mbuzi kidogo kidogo pale.
More reasons you always
viazi kidogo kidogo pale. So just being there and enjoying that this season.
Yeah,
this season for me. But coming back to what it is I do, yes, I'm happy. I'm glad that through my Reimagine Impact Associates Limited, which is a coaching, training, psychometric assessment company, I am growing. You know, as a brand, I currently am in about 15 countries. I'm mentoring different leaders in different spaces, and I'm happy about it. Why is it important for a leader who has gone ahead of others to give back? Because it's what I consider.
Tell us.
Give back because you have lived experience of your misses and hits, so that if I shared with Richard my journey, it is possible you can actually accelerate and move faster than I did out of my own lived experience, if it can fit within the same context, or you can be able to modify the same. So it's important. It is also important for us to say, whereas my experience doesn't have to be, your experience doesn't have to be my experience, there are lessons that you pick because the principles in leadership more or less remain the same. But importantly, I've come to learn that as you evolve, there are new skills that have different meaning depending on the season.
Yeah.
And therefore, I read. I am back to reading as much as I am offloading. And because the 21st century workplace is completely different from the place of the 20th century. The skill set that are required for leaders are evolving. You know, we are in a very volatile environment post-COVID. We are in a very, how do you say, techie-savvy environment where AI is doing half of what it is we can do. And so how do you fit in? We are in a place where command and control can only backfire. And these, I think, President Ruto needs to hear. Command and control will backfire because the population of the workforce is very young. And they will engage to the extent that they feel they are appreciated, accepted, and they are part of the decision making, as opposed to you shouting and backing down at them the way it happened during the slave trade era. It won't happen. So because of the shifts in the skill set, I then find it easier to be able to say it was done this way, it got us this far. But if it is done that way, there's research. And I love just going through those research you know, items so that I can be able then to deal package into frameworks and tools that I use with my clients.
Something has struck me.
Yes.
In under 5 years,
Yes.
your footprint is in 15 countries.
Yes.
What's the magic?
Nothing too special. Safe to say that for women, being out there for people to know what it is you do is always a good way to get started. Just self-promotion and telling people what it is you're doing. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and people are able to actually get me on there. I don't shy away every time you invite me for an interview, because then that's also part of my thought leadership. That's where I expose my thought leadership. But importantly, it's also for you delivering a product or a service that gives value. And when I sit with a professor and they say, I didn't have this viewpoint, it really, my heart gets full.
True satisfaction.
When I sit with a doctor, a surgeon from Nigeria, and they say, oh, because of you, I now can interpret people leadership in this manner, and I'm a better person, my heart overflows. Give value, it comes back to you. It's a Bible where we are taught what you give comes back to you. Give value, be selfless, teach the people who are coming up. And in the coming year, God willing, I'll be launching a mentorship platform so that I can get more people. Yes.
That would be great. Now I understand why the people of Nyandarua have seen so much value in you. It remains to be seen whether they shall realize that particular dream. For now, though, allow me to wrap up this conversation. Of course, I've been speaking to none other than former Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki. Of course, she served this country in many capacities as a PS, as a CS, from the youth docket, right, and gender, coming all the way to health docket, where now you served last, right?
Water, sanitation, irrigation was my last.
Oh, water, sanitation, yeah.
Health is conspicuous because we all get sick at some point, you know.
Fantastic. But she's here, truly, a true credit to Kenya's public service. And of course, she's out here to continue in her leadership journey. But for now, though, allow me rope her in and her parting shot to you, our viewers, even as we bring the year to a close. What's your message to that boy in Baringo, to that girl in Shanzu? I always take you back there because I know there are so many people looking up to you, be it the younger, be it the older generation.
Well, thank you, Richard, for having me. And to that young person listening to me now, is just to encourage you that there were challenges as we grew up. There will continue to be challenges. What distinguishes you, and whether you succeed or you do not succeed, is your resilience. So you must believe in yourself. You must believe that when challenges come, they teach you very loudly, and therefore, you know, take it as a lesson and keep going. Keep good company around you so that they can tell you when you're going off the rails, and can also cheer you on when you're doing the right thing. Never give up. That's always my message. Tomorrow will be better than today. While at it, allow me, Richard, to say this could be the last time I'm having this conversation on this channel with you. Allow me to wish your viewer, and particularly my family, my friends, my family of 018, allow me to wish you a Merry Christmas and a very blessed 2026. Na tupatane mashinani. To you, Richard, and your family here at Nairobi Review, Merry Christmas, and thank you for creating this platform and for consistently getting thought leaders to come and share with Kenyans what is useful.
We are humbled. It's always a pleasure to have you on board, and we thank you, of course, for granting us this unique opportunity. I wish you the best, the remainder part of this year, and also a successful 2026.
Thank you.
We get to do this again next year. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. I'm Richard Mwenju. Get me on my social media handles at Mwenju Richard. For Honorable Cecily Kariuki, where do they get you?
I am active on LinkedIn for professional staff by my names. I am active on Facebook, Twitter by the same name. For Facebook, we get to speak a lot of social stuff, a lot of 018 stuff. Then again, I'm a telephone call away, I'm an email away. I am on media houses quite frequently. And if you really miss me, look for Richard Mwenja on this medium. He'll bring you where I am.
Sure. Okay, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Have a happy, happy, happy holiday.